All right, folks, I got an emergency update with Juan O Savin. Juanito, what is going on here?
Well, I just want people to know, and a lot of people have heard, because we're into the afternoon right now, but last night, Tina Peters, in the evening was assaulted again.
Tina Peters was assaulted by who?
Yeah. One of the other inmates, they have these maintenance closets where they have to go in and get stuff. They have work, they have to do chores and like that. And so some other inmate decided that inside these closets, there's no cameras. There's cameras out in the main areas. So this person went in after Tina went in there and started to assault her.
Like how?
Tina, pushed this out into the open area where it could be seen, obviously for her own protection as much as possible. And then on the camera, all it shows is Tina pushing this person out of the closet. Well,
was this person younger than her? Was it a DO?
She's the oldest person in there practically, so it almost had to be somebody younger. But the long and short of it is that Tina was charged with assault because all the camera shows is her pushing this person into the open area. And of course, the other person knowing where the cameras are at, immediately, right? So who gets charged? Tina's being investigated for assault, and likely would get charged for assaulting.
So they set her up.
They set her up. And so she's in the hole. She's in solitary again, out of communications, while they review the situation and decide if they want to charge her again. So at the end of the day,
I can't believe how much bad luck is hitting this woman. This is terrible. Her son, she's a Gold Star mom. Was her son murdered in combat, Juanito?
Well, no, her son was a parachutist. He was also special, a SEAL, but he was on a demonstration team, and behind the scenes had been helping on some child trafficking issues. And so here he's at an event where they're doing a demonstration parachute jump, and is excruciatingly rare double chute failure. He had thousands of jumps. This was unheard of, really.
But they pack their own parachutes, don't
exactly. They? That's the point. So to have a double failure like this is just, quite bizarre. And, but you'll never probably at this point prove what actually happened there. And it's very unfortunate. But, this isn't bad luck, Nino. This is an attack. She's in prison. Her
right, but just for my audience that may just be tuning in, don't know who she is. She uncovered the cheat in Colorado for the 2020 election, and she understood. She uncovered the code, right? Correct. She kind of cracked the code on it.
Well, what the deal was is they were, in the whole country, all these machines that were used. Dominion's headquarters is in Colorado for the nation and for much of the world on the machine side of the boat. And after the 2020 election, there was another local election that was supposed to happen in the spring. In the course of this, bizarre things were happening, and people kept coming to Tina saying that she needed to preserve the record concerning the vote because there was investigations were going to have to happen. Tina at that time was of the opinion that she was running the gold standard of elections. And she didn't really see a problem with the machines, but enough people had said something. She was kind of second guessing herself. She contacts the proper people inside Colorado, Secretary of State, and looking for guidance on how to preserve the record of the machine, because she was advised that they were going to do service, what they called a trusted build, on the machines in statewide, of course, and the county where she was the clerk in Mesa County, kind of out in western Colorado. They were going to do this service of the machines, and she was concerned, well, if you're going to service them, is there any chance that the vote record data could be damaged? Because it's my job to protect the record of the election for 22, federally, or 26 months, I think it is, Colorado. And they just said, no, you just leave it alone, you're fine. We're not going to do any backup on the machines. And so her job as the clerk is to protect that record. In fact, this is an important point. Technically, she's not actually protecting the vote or working for the state of Colorado if there's a federal election. President, vice president, and then senators and congressmen, if that's part of the election stuff of federal office. She's working for the U.S. House of Representatives. And if you remember, the electors from the states go out to the House of Representatives and provide their information concerning who won the presidential part of the ballot. And so she is an employee with responsibility, an officer, if you will, of the House of Representatives in handling, protecting, and disseminating the vote data for the federal office of president. And so it's a higher responsibility than just anything in the state. And so when she didn't get any assistance, she went ahead and got assistance that she secured to make a copy, just like you would back up your computer, not changing anything, just a copy of everything that's there before they did the service. And then after they serviced it, to find out, make sure that nothing had been changed, she had another copy made. And in fact, the people that looked at it forensically found that it was altered. The machine was damaged in its records internally, and things obscured.
Wow.
And she brought that to people's attention. Well, of course, she is not somebody that people who have gotten into office through vote fraud want to be viable. And so they've attacked her mercilessly, really.
And so she gets they throw her in prison.
She got run to the trial. In fact, anybody that listened to there was a hearing before the appellate court a couple weeks ago. And if anybody here listened to that, it's a 3-judge panel reviewing how the case was done on appeal. And the judges were unimpressed with the way the trial was done. The jury was not given information that they needed to come to a decision. It was cooked. And they were, if you listen to them, you can tell they're pretty shocked at what happened with the trial. And the question is whether or not you have to throw that conviction out based on things that happened. And I think that anybody that listens to that thinks those judges are probably going to do just that. But in the meantime, Tina's gone through all these traumas. She's been in prison for, a year and a quarter now.
And she gets pardoned by Trump on top of everything because she's the key to 2020. And they're defying him, basically. They won't let her out, correct?
Right. They essentially, it's sedition. The governor is acting in a seditious manner, saying that the federal government doesn't have any authority over them, as though this is a state action. The reality is what Tina was doing, and this is what the judges were questioning the other day in the appeals court hearing. Anything that would have gone to prove that what Tina was doing was in her role as a protector of the federal side of the vote means that it overrides anything in the state, and that any charges that would be brought against her would have to be federal charges. Essentially what I've said, what others have said all along, is that Tina should never, ever have been indicted. No case should have been brought in the state court. The grand jury that heard testimony concerning Tina, and then the jury that heard her case and convicted her and put her in state prison, were never read in that she was protecting federal vote information and that her role was federal. So eventually her case is going to get thrown out. Her conviction is going to get thrown out. But in the meantime, how do you buy back one day, let alone now 5 years of drama?
Right, and not to mention they just threw a new charge on her, and she's in.
Well, and now if she's guilty of assault,
so she could stay in there for who knows how long.
Right, they can just say, well, then now she's got, she could be pardoned even for everything that's happened up to this point in time, and still have to go through a trial on the assault charge if they were to allow that.
So is she screwed now? I mean, what's going to happen?
Well, again, this is where there needs to be some attention to this. And, again, she's in danger even for the setup. Okay. What's this other prisoner going to do? They come in to set her up, and by the way, Tina's 70 years old. I was just reviewing something with somebody with a person who was assaulted by a DoorDash driver. The driver in this car was racing through the neighborhood way fast. You had older people, and this person, walks, knows they got neighbors that are on walkers and crutches on. This DoorDash driver's just racing through the neighborhood. So the guy goes out to the driveway to wave this guy down, tell him, slow down. This is this kind of a neighborhood. We got kids and elderly people, and you're going way too fast. So he's out there, and he's a bit verbose because the guy's not listening to him. And so the guy, this DoorDash driver, who's half his age, acts like he's threatened by the 75-year-old man because he's talking a bit heatedly, and hits him in the side of the head. Guy falls to the ground, and he cracks his head on the concrete, and he's in a coma right now. Okay, the guy's in his 70s. Look,
I can't believe what this world is coming to, man.
You have to take into consideration somebody's assaulting Tina. She's not a spring chicken. In a heartbeat, her situation could change. This could have been way worse. Fortunately, she's fine, a little bruised up.
Yeah, but how much longer can she last like this, especially with her health condition, man?
Look, the cough is back in a way that's like when she had cancer the first time, and they're just going ultra slow. I will tell you this, Nino. We pushed hard at the White House, and the president responded. The president's aware of the community attention. He's mentioned things several times in the Truth Social stuff and like that, and been very verbose about the governor of Colorado, and warned that harsher measures are, there. And we know that there's other stuff within things that he wants to do from a national side that, when you pull that pin, it's off to the races. I'm not going to second guess the president. I know that the president is extremely sensitive, all things Tina Peters. And
what's even more sensitive is her health. And I mean, and she's 70. I mean, we got to get her out.
Yeah. Well, especially when everything that's happened, it's all going to get overturned. But in the meantime, she's, they're.
When is that? When is that going to happen? We'll get overturned when? I mean, they should send U.S. Marshals in there right now and get her out and bust her out of there. We got Maduro.
Well, and now with these pending charges, she might have to go through further court stuff, even in spite of everything else too.
But see, that's my point. We knew they were going to pull these shenanigans. We knew they were going to try to keep her in there. Now they can.
Well, they would certainly try. So it's a very sensitive moment. The one thing I would say is that we need to probably make a hard push again. The White House call line is open from 10 to 3 daily. It's manned by volunteers. I'd be extremely respectful, but the time for action, President pardoned her. The state is in defiance of that pardon. No pardon, by the way, by a president has ever been overturned or denied before. There is no case precedent. And by the way, the assertion that the state authority exceeds the federal in this kind of situation, there's no precedence for that. It's never happened. They say stuff to that effect, but that's not true. So allowing this level of defiance is, it is seditious. So some type of action to take control of situations is probably appropriate, and the time is now. So
this is how they get around the pardon, this right here.
Well, they've gotten around the pardon because the governor's acting seditiously and challenging federal authority by the president in this type of matter. I can guarantee if it was being pardoned by a Biden and a conservative Republican governor tried to step in the way, you'd hear angst and drama and crying and weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, and everybody in this audience really kind of knows that, but we're now rapidly approaching a moment where the threatened severe action on the part of the president is probably appropriate. They're not protecting Tina. They're setting her up. She's sitting in the hole again. She's in solitary again.
So let me get this up immediately, Juanito, so people can. What do you want people to do, especially? Just call the White House hotline?
I think we call the White House. Let them know that we're all, we're ready.
Okay. Time to do it. Time to
do whatever you got to do. Make it happen. Get it done.
You got it. Thank you, Juanito. God bless you.
All right. Thanks, folks.